Hey, great to see you, man. What's up, Bobby?
Oh, same here, same here.
Man, Ben, well, I don't know if you saw it this week,
Hmm.
but I was complaining about movies not coming out, and as soon as I said that shit, a banger come out. Boy, I seen a damn thing, and I had sent it to you. I didn't know if you ever saw it or not.
Which one was it?
It's this new. It's a. You'll see it here in a second. I sent it over to you. You check
All
it
right,
out.
I'll check it
I can
out.
never take Bobby seriously. I never know what he's talking about.
Why?
You know what I mean? I never know what you're gonna pull out. Exactly, right?
I'm gonna show this. To... This is
Hey,
what I get. I come here, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what I get.
hey, you
I'm
can
telling
be.
you, man. I never get,
I love
You
never,
don't
never
want
take
to.
You
Bobby
Hey,
had
you
me.
seriously.
ain't seen Jay's commercial yet for the Dark Artist.
No, is that right? AI is something else.
Oh
I like
man.
that though. I like that. That's good
All right,
stuff.
what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the newly rebrand Business Entrepreneur Podcast, right? Operator's Edge. We're just trying to do something different here, right? Because as an entrepreneur, I could learn from Ben, Bobby could learn from us, I could learn from Bobby. So we're just sharing the wealth. Jake couldn't make it today, so we'll see him next week. But yeah, we just wanted to jump on here and add value to you guys, and if you guys have any question as it relates to entrepreneurship, mindset, leadership, like whatever we can do to help add value to you guys' lives, just hit the chat and then we'll do our best to win some for you. But for those who don't know who you guys are, Ben, we can start with you. Just let them know who you are, where to find you, and then we'll jump right into these three topics today.
Hey everybody, Ben Pappas here. I'm retired Marine Corps. Did a bunch of years there, obviously in the infantry, Marine Force Recon, Marine Raider Battalion Commander as well too. And right now, currently, I'm an executive coach, leadership coach. I help businesses to develop their leadership. I help founders, owners, executives to make breakthroughs with their teams and in their personal lives as well too. People to grow their businesses, all that kind of stuff. Come over to my YouTube channel, just Ben Pappas, Ben Pappas One. It is growing surely, slowly, steadily, but surely with the help of my friends who have these big channels here. So come on over to YouTube, check me out, give me a follow, and I'd appreciate it.
Tell you what, that's the best way to grow though is because you'll notice like you'll grow, like you'll hit a wall and then you'll grow some and then it'll just take off. But the people that are with you, at least you know, like these are like my core audience. They were with me from the beginning, right? Because if you blow up right away and then everything just kind of stops, like you don't really have any more momentum, right? So you don't want to blow up like right out the gate. Slow and steady is the way to go when it comes to YouTube. It's sustainable, I guess is
Right.
the thing I want to say.
Awesome.
So, Bobby, if you can do a quick intro and then we'll jump right into this one.
Yeah, man. Bobby Aller, former paratrooper, 82nd Airborne. Now I'm the number one private eye go-to guy. Doing some things in Congress, gonna make the world a safer place for all of us. I am selling jet boat trips down to Venezuela. If anybody wants to go, buy two get one free. So that's about it. I'm trying to learn from these guys. Myself, they got me motivated a couple weeks ago. Here I am.
Awesome,
I ain't been
awesome.
asleep in two
Well,
weeks. I worked so long on Sunday, I clocked out. I realized it was Monday. I clocked right the fuck back in. All
That's how
gas, no brakes.
that's how you get ahead, baby, right there.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right. So we'll jump right into the first topic, guys, because again, we have about an hour with everybody. And again, if you have any questions, guys, let us know. And the first one's going to be as a leader, how do you grow? Like, how do you grow as a leader, right? Not only from a CEO standpoint, leading a company, but also from a military standpoint, as a father leading a family, and then as a CEO leading an actual country, and even as a man leading yourself. Like, how do you guys go through that growth process? What does that look like for you guys? We'll start with you, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I think leadership growth, growth as a leader is something that happens by leaps and bounds. And sometimes, almost like the YouTube thing you just said, where it can stagnate a little bit. But I think you have to have personal development. You have to have a program, like a reading program, a growth program. Every day, schedule some time for growth. You want to, like I always say with business. Okay, so you want to learn from the mistakes of others. Don't this whole thing you hear a lot of the times, you see all these people. It was a thing a couple years ago where everybody was always saying, just start and fail fast. Well, sometimes you fail, your ass is knocked out of the game. Especially like, let's take a real estate deal, right? Jay, I'd rather miss a good one than get into a bad one. And it's the same thing. You're starting a business, you start having partnerships. Next thing you know, you're in a bad one. Your credit can get destroyed. You can be bankrupt. So there's a lot to consider. So I think, as a leader, to grow in every aspect, study case studies of other people who've gone before you. This is one thing, like in my leadership development system, it's called RP2EL. And the L stands for learn from mistakes. Learn from mistakes of others first. You don't want to have to learn the hard way every time. There's tons of cases out there. So read, grow, study, get with a coach, get with a mentor, all those things. And then I'll tell you obviously the best ways to grow, and even if you don't like it, is experience. And so you got to listen to the feedback as you go. You don't know everything. You want to have a vision. You want to be convicted in your vision and go after it. But listen to the people that are operating where the rubber meets the road. They will tell you. I'm talking, as a business owner or as a leader in the military, right? You got to listen to the feedback you're getting sometimes from some of the employees. If you're hiring right, if you're getting the right people on your team, that you've done your due diligence, and this person is a winner. They want to win, right? They want to win. They want to succeed. Usually people don't get into jobs because they want to fail, right? So it's up to you, first of all, for who you let on the team to make sure you have the right people on the team. But once they're in there and you've decided they're worthy to work with you and they're the right people to work with you, you got to also listen to the feedback. That's going to cause you to grow, and also leading by example and knowing when you're wrong, admitting when you have to make a change, you have to make an adjustment. Because if you don't, you could be heading right for the wall, right off the cliff, and everyone's telling you, hey, I don't think this is working. Hey, this isn't so good. And if you're just like, yeah, I got it. You don't actually do the due diligence and inspect what you expect, you might go right off the cliff. But that's, just in a quick nutshell. Obviously, I could talk about this all day. It's kind of what I do. So, but yeah, Bobby, what do you think, man?
I kind of had mine in spurts. So like I'd have a growth period, what I called it. And I had to learn things the hard way just because I was going to prove I could. You know what I mean? And that, I would have been a lot better off in life if I had, number one, more patience as a young man. Because spinning ain't winning. Just because you're moving fast don't mean you're doing anything. And then, like you said, listen to somebody that's already done it, and I've got it in my head, this will work. And they're like, boy, I've already been there. I had to learn the hard way. So there's always that. I think all of us have at some point or something like, we're going to figure it out on our own. We take the lumps, we keep on moving. And I try to make the next person understand that. I think the way I always was able to do it with troops is I didn't like giving orders. The way I gave orders was how, when, and why you're doing it. So if people understand that, they're like, why am I doing this? I'm like, I'm going to tell you. You do this, this, and this, so this shit right here don't happen to us later. Well, once they grasp that, they're like, oh, okay, now, man, this is important. We need to be doing this instead of just go down and do it because I said so. You need to understand your task and purpose. I think patience is another one. And kind of like what you brought up about the, crashing and burning right off the get. It used to not be that hard to shake back. I would shake back all the time. Now, if you fall off, if you don't have a system behind you anymore, it's hard to win. You really got to network and build a system and a team anymore, because an individual nowadays just about doesn't have a chance unless he's got it inside.
Yeah, you got to have a tribe and have a team, and but just pivoting real quick off what Bobby was saying too, Jay. If I can have one more minute here, I think some of the times I grew the most as a leader, I don't want to say this for everybody out there, is that when I was doing the hardest things. So a lot of people don't want hard. They don't want to do hard things. I see a lot of things out there about, I've achieved all this at this time. Okay, good. You climbed the first mountain. Now what? Because guess what? When those clouds clear, there's another mountain. What are you doing now? Are you going to be a fat pig? You're just going to, be lazy and do nothing now? Okay, good for you. What are you going to do next? Who have you led? What lives have you impacted? All those things. There's always one more mountain to climb. So that's what you see with the true achievers, the true champions, is that they always are looking for the next mountain. What's the next one to go up? Okay. And they're taking their team with them up the next mountain too. So, I mean, I think when you're doing the hardest things is when you're going to grow the most. So don't be afraid to do hard things. Be kind to yourself in the process and realize it's just like you're climbing Everest. Are you prepared for the biggest climb? Have you been at base camp? Do you have a plan? Do you have guides? You take the Sherpas up there with you, right? Do you have guides along the way? Or are you like Wim Hof? You're doing it in shorts and because you've trained your body and your blood so much that you can go without a shirt on in shorts and climb Everest, right? But sometimes, we strap on things we're not ready for. We go for these big projects, but you don't have everything figured out. And so it's going to be hard, but you are going to grow. You are going to grow. And it's that becoming process that's everything. So don't be afraid to do hard things. But I definitely would say get preparation before you begin it. Study case studies. And then even while you're doing it, get a team, like Bobby's saying, get mentors, get coaches, surround yourself. Like for me, let's say personally, this YouTube journey, I didn't do any of my marketing on YouTube before. I've been in business for 7 years, full time, doing what I do. And I never did YouTube until I joined the War Room with you guys. And then you guys taught me so much. And so as Bobby's saying, as Jay has said, you have this team of successful people surrounding you. And like now for me, and I've heard my son told me, he's like, Dad, it's pretty rare to be a YouTube partner for actually, it's really hard. And for me, this is like, really? This is the normal thing because this is what all my guys are doing in this thing.
Man, you should have seen how much he laughed at me on the outtakes that I was trying to do one time. Like I turned it on and he's just laughing. Like he's just laughing.
It's just such a unique skill to learn, right? Speaking to a camera and and essentially influencing and providing feedback. It's just a different realm. And I think to piggyback off what all you guys are saying when it comes to growing overall, I think being in the military actually does us a disservice, right? When it comes to growing, because in the military, if you think about it, you always are looking to the person that is ahead of you for mentorship, right? So if you're a captain, you're looking at that major or that lieutenant colonel. If you're a lieutenant colonel, you're looking at the general, etc. Same thing. If you're an E5, you're looking at that squad leader that's on first class. So you're always looking up. And then at least this was an issue that I had, right? 20 years later, I get out and I'm looking for mentorship. And it was hard for me to go, from that military of always looking up to civilian sector. Now I have, like a nobody, right? Like he wasn't in the military. He's just out here crushing life. And now I got to go ask that person for advice, right? And then you look at it, coming from a special operation background, you think you're big and tough and you have this ego. And now you have to learn how to swallow that pride and that ego and go to that person and say, hey, can you help me with this? Like, how do I do this? And you essentially have to become a student all over again, right? Mm-hmm. And you learn and then you grow. And for me, I think the biggest thing was, hey, putting that ego and that pride aside and asking for help in all areas of your life, whether it's, your marriage or your parenting. I've all been before and had conversation about certain things, right? Like realizing that you don't know what you don't know. And if somebody's been there already and they've done it, then realizing that instead of making these same mistakes and learning the hard way, like, hey, why not just reach out to them? In the military, most of the TTPs or the SOPs that we have, they come from people getting messed up on the battlefield, right? They come from hard lessons learned. And in life, like you don't have to do that if you have the right mentors, right? Like, so that's one thing that I've definitely had to change my mind on is even on YouTube, like, hey, reaching out to, folks that are in that space crushing it, that are a lot younger, that are, not as experienced in life as me, and just swallowing my pride and saying, hey man, like, how did you do this? Like what can you teach me? Right? Like writing books. I don't know anything about that. So I had to reach out to, the expert and become a student all over again.
Well, I was going to write
and it was the same thing with business.
One long sentence.
He's going to turn on the voice to text microphone and just
Well, that's exactly what I did when I started, right? Like I was like, I'm gonna write my autobiography, and I sat down and started writing, and I was using ChatGPT, And then I turned it in to this editor that I paid, money to, and they looked at it and it was like, man, this is garbage. And here I am. I thought it was hot shit. I was like, man, 80,000 words.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
they looked at me and was like, man, this is trash.
Well, you got to be able to
And
get
I
it
was
to
like,
disseminate to everybody else to feel what you feel,
yeah,
which is very hard to
Yeah.
do. You make it relatable.
exactly. And then I realized like, oh, this is trash. Like I don't know what I'm doing, right?
Right.
So I had to find an expert and invest in myself and figure out how to do it the right way.
That's
But
right.
at least I'm starting, right? I'm getting, what's in my head on paper, and I'm starting that process. If I didn't, I would have never known, like, hey, this isn't how you write. You don't write in first person. You got to use third person. I'm like, what is a third person? You know what I mean? Like I'm learning all these things. But if I don't go down that journey, if I don't start that LLC, if I don't do the thing, I'll never know, right? And then it'll just go to the cemetery with me and it'll die there, just like we talked about last time.
Well, we have so much
So,
information now that Jay, like,
yeah,
I tell guys all the time, I'm like, man, y'all have such a fucking leg up, and guys are giving away gold. I'm like giving away the details. That's what people don't ever get, the details.
It's very true.
Well,
Yeah.
you watch a TV show or you read a guy's saying, man, all you gotta do is put a motor and a transmission in that car, dude, it's ready to roll. It's just that easy, Like hell no, man. You know how much time that is? Like the details are what's
Right.
missing. Okay.
Right.
But you can find all these things now, especially with AI and how to disseminate information. The only thing I see that it hurts is we don't read anymore. And when
Yeah.
you read books, I know my vocabulary and spelling used to be off the charts because I constantly read. If I didn't know a word, I learned through context. So I do say we
but
have
you're
a bit of
Bobby,
a
you're right.
hindrance there.
And Bobby, you're right too, because there's a. So we're talking about how do you grow as a leader, right? Going back to the main topic. But Bobby, you're right, because when we're reading something that someone wrote in a book, like I'm reading this book by Mo Gadot. He's the former chief business officer of Google, Google X, all these things like that. And it's a really, really good stuff. He writes on AI, but he also writes on how do you achieve what quote unquote is happiness, right? And so he goes through a lot of cool areas you wouldn't think he's going into. But these are distilled, they're reviewed, the thoughts are crystallized. Like he's giving you his very best organized thoughts. Sometimes when you're watching videos and it's great, you get a lot out of it. Obviously, his audio is a lot easier, but your brain doesn't have a chance to code everything either, because there's a coding process where the thoughts sit in and reading slower uptake of information. So, sometimes the slower process is it's sticking better in your brain. In some cases, everybody learns a little differently, but I think, if you can watch a video, take a course, read a book, get with someone, talking to you about it then. And that's one of the things that, as much as people knock college so much today, but that's one of the things that it does well. It hits you several different ways. You have a laboratory, you have a speaker, you have books to read. So, while you don't have to go to college, you can imitate that for yourself. Find the same subject, listen to it, watch it, read it, write some things down, take notes for yourself, and you're getting like a college-like experience, And obviously, if you can do it, if you can prac app it, do the practical application like we always do in the military, then it's really going to stick for you. And Jay, how you're talking about, you have to really go back as a student. The one thing I'll say is that ancient wisdom from Socrates, I know that I know nothing, right? The biggest thing of knowledge is that I know nothing. If you can keep that in your mind, it'll allow you to be very authentic in a humble way. You're not killing off your ego. You're controlling the ego, but you're realizing that I can learn from someone younger. I can learn from someone older. I can learn from someone who's ahead of me, and that's okay. It's all part. If you stay mission first on all things, you stay mission first. You're not worried about who gets credit. You're not worried about how you really look. You're worried about how do you advance, how you grow, how do you get better, But I think too much when we so protect our image and how we look, you're going to hit a ceiling. You're going to hit a ceiling because you're not going to be able to grow unless sometimes you look stupid.
I was going to say that, Ben, is like what you'll see, especially with combat arms guys that really have been in combat, is you'll be intimidating. You'll put off a more intimidating persona.
Right, for
and
sure.
It's not that you're trying to be that way, but a lot of people don't want to, they don't want to be like you, make them nervous.
Yeah, for sure.
I can remember, and I'm just bringing this up because I remember being 19 and the first time I met some CAG operators, and I was just like these motherfuckers had this glow on them or something. You know what I mean? They were fucking professional athletes.
First time I met any guys there was I was in Trigger Time, North Carolina, for a 3-gun competition, and D-boys rolled up in a van, and they were getting their time in, and these guys were like around the Somalia era, right? Somalia, and just kind of flowing and going through the kill house with them. I was like, this is another world, dude. This one like guy pulled out his pistol, and I was a good shooter. You know what I mean? I was a competitive good shooter. I mean, I was probably 21 at the time. This dude pulled out his pistol, all the pepper poppers, like bing, 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 knocked them all down. It's like, holy crap, this is another world right now. And so, you know, yeah, but same type of thing. It was intimidating, definitely intimidating.
It
You
was
talk
very
to them, they're
intimidating.
super cool.
Them and the SAS together. Like I was 19, and my very first combat was I got sent to a black site, you know, to go out there and help support them. You know, there's about 20 of us got sent out there, and it was actually John McPhee and them were there. So,
No kidding.
and it had SEAL Team 6, Blue Squadron was there, CIA, OGAs, and I mean it's just like the who's, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I was
especially
kind
at
of
19. Especially at 19.
yeah,
you know,
19
like,
years old, like I fucking immediately get sent to Kunar, like.
Nice. Did you feel like, but by seeing that and staying with the topic and leadership growth, like when your eyes, when you were exposed to that, did you feel like suddenly you had a jump in like what you knew, who you were, like as a leader, like you like were like, man, there's so much more.
What I noticed about them is the way that they talked, and they made you feel comfortable almost. They weren't having a contest or anything. They were disseminating information. If you got it, you got it. If you asked a question, they would gladly, answer it. But I always liked the way that and I tell people, I was like, they have a way of speaking to almost make you feel comfortable always with them.
They
And I'm
disarm
like,
you.
that dude just got finished murdering 10 people, but he got you over here feeling comfortable around him.
Right.
And I think that comes in with just recreating yourself and becoming a student all over again, because you can't go to, someone that you're trying to learn from and start like a battle of the wits, you know what I mean? And start,
Yeah.
like pumping out your chest and letting them know, I used to do this. Because essentially you
Right.
all come into them for wisdom. So you always have to essentially put that ego and that pride away, right? And then again, some of us do it a lot better than others, right? Some of us just doesn't know how to turn off, what the army made of us. But again, you have to recreate yourself when you're getting ready to enter into a new world. You can't go, seek information from a CEO or whoever, and then try to outwit them, right? Try to show them that you're better than them. They're gonna be like, "Fuck you!" Like, why should I
That's right.
share with you? So you
And you
have
know
to
some-
disarm and put that ego away.
As far as leadership within growth within you guys, and we'll just say personal relationships, how long did it take for you to be able to say you were sorry?
Ooh, man.
It took me a while, man. It took me a while.
That really was a hindrance in my life,
Yeah.
because I would try to justify my actions all the time, and then once I finally learned to say I was sorry, like it was, I mean, it killed all of it, but I was so pig-headed, I'd rather jump off a fucking bridge, So it took a long time in life to say, hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I'll
I think
say-
it's ongoing for me. Like it's because certain situation, like I'm so heated and I'm so in it to where it takes me a while to walk away and calm down and then rationalize it, war game it, and say, you know what, I was in the wrong with this, right? And sometimes, to Bobby's point, a quick "I'm sorry" could end the conversation like right then and there.
It makes it. I'll tell you, Bobby. That's a great question. I think, I mean, as a leader, I learned early on I don't know everything. I was lucky. I had a great platoon sergeant starting out, who taught me a lot. Master Gun Smock, if you're out there, he was awesome and taught me things like that. I had another guy who's prior enlisted staff NCO, staff sergeant, became a lieutenant, and taught me to let my Sean Quinlan, Sean, what's up? But if taught me to let my Marines shine, and saying all these things like that, and don't be afraid to say, hey, I got that wrong, So I was lucky. I had someone teach me with experience early on, and I think just upbringing as well too. But it means a lot because guys couldn't believe it. Like, what? You're really okay? You're not like everybody else or anything like that, and so it does make a big difference. And I remember later, in MARSOC, I was fortunate enough to go through the SOCOM Commanders course with Admiral McCraven. So I got a legendary leader teaching us on a daily basis, and it's me with like 20 other commanders in there. We're down in Tampa, and he was talking about this book by Stephen Covey Jr., The Speed of Trust, and he made us all read it, and he made us all like really understand it. And one of the parts of that was that making amends, admitting when you're wrong, saying I'm sorry, you know, and if there's like an injustice that occurs, you know, making amends, making it right. And you know, I'm thinking to myself, if this guy, with everything he's done and who he is, his reputation, is saying this is important, then it's got to be important, you know. And it's like you break down the barriers in the teams and you know everything like that. And I think I think it makes a big difference. So I think everyone comes from a different background with it. But I think someone who doesn't say they're sorry and can't admit when they're wrong, I think there's where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a lot going on there. And honestly, it's tied to something called NPD, is a narcissistic personality disorder. If you have somebody in your life where you know that just cannot say I'm sorry or cannot admit when they're wrong, constantly justifying, and what I do, I've had to learn about NPD because of working with clients, right? And so if I'm trying to help someone to grow their business and get ahead, let's say there's some personal things going on, because I will tell you, like Robert Herjavec from the Shark Tank said, the number one reason he's seen founders and owners fail almost every time, founders and owners failing in their business, is a personal problem. Okay, and so I've found the same thing. I saw this quote from him like 3 months ago, and I thought, holy crap, it's the same thing I've experienced for 7 years. There's always something going on in their life. So whether it's a relationship, it's themselves, it's an addiction, it's a substance. And so, but saying you're sorry can end, like Jay said, it can end everything right then and there. You end it, it's over. People are like, oh, okay, you're sorry? Okay, cool.
Hey, can we address somebody in the comments for a second? I want to know, hey man, don't come in here with that bullshit. And don't sit there and say my dude's a scam. I don't know if you're a bot or whatever the fuck you are, but don't do that shit. Everybody over here is being positive. If you don't want to watch it, carry your fucking ass. Yeah, I don't like that. We don't do that shit over here, man. This ain't that kind of group.
Oh yeah, I don't even know what you're referring to, Bobby, but I appreciate
there's a guy
you,
over here saying the guy on the left over there is a scam. Only cucks do fucking leadership schools. Da 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 da.
Yeah, you don't need to even shed any light to it.
That just aggravates me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's probably not even a real person.
Thank you for commenting and boosting the algorithm, though. And for watching too. Right. Stir it up, baby. Stir it up.
But again, please finish, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah, no. The last thing on that is, I would say too, a lot of things I've seen. You guys have probably seen this, right? And guys don't want to ask for help. Like they don't literally, especially like Bob, you're saying the combat vets, like really hard. I've seen it. Like they come to you like, hey man, some of that stuff pretty good, and I was thinking, maybe there's something you can, like, it's hard, it's physically hard to actually talk about what they think is important or what they want help with. And so I think that's a big thing too, is that you got to open up. You got to be confident in who you are. You got to know who you are, what you've done. You can't worry about criticism. You can't worry about people laughing at you or saying something like oh you need help. Yeah, I need help. The best people, look at the president. The president's got a cabinet. What is the cabinet? They're advisors. Mm-hmm. They're more or less mentors, coaches, and he won't want to say that, right? Current president, probably no president, but these are people that are guiding you in what decisions you should make. So if it's good enough for the top dog in the country there, elected leader, you got to take a page out of their book and realize that it's okay. It's okay. In fact, it's required. You don't go into combat alone, same type of thing. So that's all I want to add, Jay.
When I met Jay over here, he didn't know me from Adam. But he's probably got thousands. Getting emails left and right, people asking this, asking, and I seen he was a legitimate, good person and everything. And so I was going to try to figure out a way to help him grow. I didn't want anything from him. And that's usually a lot of people are like, oh shit, what's this guy want? You know what I mean? And I legitimately just like to see people do good. I know that sounds crazy, but I do. I like to see people do good.
Yeah. And it always comes back around, man. At the end of the day, the energy you put into the world is the energy that you're going to get back. So I'm a firm believer in that. So, but yeah, all awesome feedback here, guys. I really appreciate it. We'll transition into this next one, which I think goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. And that's going to be when it comes to business, when it comes to creating something, growing it, and getting it to the point where it's something that you're proud of. Do you guys think that there's anything as work-life balance when it comes to, business, entrepreneurship, etc.? We'll start with you, Ben.
Yeah, man. I think for a work-life balance, and you hear some people say there is no work-life balance. You hear that a lot today. You hear from, big leaders, big influencers, big very successful guys who say there is no work-life balance. You have to be all in and be very obsessed with what you're doing. I agree with some of that. I agree with a lot of it. And I want to say this, the balance needs to come for me with prioritization of what's most important for your life. So if it's, you got, I mean, I shouldn't say if, you've got to have time for health and fitness. You got to have it, because if you don't do it now, you're going to regret it later. Pay me now, pay me later. It's the type of thing that, you're going to take it seriously now, or you're going to take it seriously later, one or the other. And the next thing is that, with, with work-life balance too, is that relationships, the quality of your relationships is the quality of your life. And that's it. I mean, there's some people that are absolutely miserable in their lives. And what do? They spend time tearing other people down and, attacking, criticizing, things like that. And, and a lot of the times this could be helped if you improve the quality of your relationships, which will improve the quality of your emotions, the way you're feeling. And you're going to feel good about yourself, and you're going to spend more time progressing and advancing instead of retreating and, wasting your time in negativity and wallowing in negativity. So I think, that's so important, that you have to have prioritization. What's really important to you? And if right now you're in a situation in your life where money is the most important thing to you, money's important, right? I've had someone before in comments tell me, yeah, money's not even a priority. Well, I don't know where you're at in your life. I don't know. Either you're imagining things, or, you're at a place in your life where right now for you, it's not important. But security, stability, economic stability is very, very important. And so I think the true balance for me means you're taking care of what the most important priorities are. And obviously, if you're trying to build something like, a business, like all of us are entrepreneurs and, in business and things like that, and we have YouTube channels, you got to spend a lot of time doing that. But you can't, the true balance is you got to put in time for health and fitness. You got to put in time for your relationships. Otherwise, you're going to pay later. You pay now or pay later. So that's truly where I think the work-life balance is. And if you don't take care of the top priority work as early as you can in the day, you're going to pay for that too, because you're going to see later on the work's not done. And you see some people get stuck in this cycle where they don't know how to prioritize. They don't know how to strategize. They don't know what to do. And so, or where to put their energy. And so they wake up in the morning, they doom scroll, they get filled with negative emotions, things like that. Next thing you know, it's noon. Next thing you know, they get done. Let's say if they have a job, they get done with a job, whenever, 5, 6 p.m. They haven't worked out yet. And then they're, eating bad food, drinking. Next thing you know, it's the next day. And you still haven't gotten those things yet. And everything you wanted to accomplish is still just a dream. And it's wishful thinking. At some point, you decide you can't do it. So I think rewinding all the way back to work-life balance, you've got to identify what the highest priority work is, the most important things, the things you value the most, and you got to put time into those every day. You just have to.
Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the guy on there, he had some pretty good advice, because he was like, "Man, when it comes to work-life balance, you got to figure out exactly what your purpose in this world is. Like, what is it that you want to become?" And he said, "You want to be filthy rich?" Because he was like, "Yeah, you can go be filthy rich, but once you get to the point where you're filthy rich, are you going to be able to enjoy it?" To Ben's point, because you spent all this time getting rich, and now you're so fat and out of shape you can't even go up the stairs at this penthouse that you have to actually
Yeah.
enjoy it. You can't go to the
Yeah.
beach. You can't go in because you've neglected physical fitness. It's like, or do you want to be, fit, rich, and you ignored, your family and everyone that was there for you? Now you're alone on an island, and you don't have no kids, you don't have any wife, you don't have any of that, right? So as I'm listening to this guy, I was like, man, like, what is it that I want to be like? What is it that I want in life? Yeah, I want to be filthy rich. Yeah, I want to be in shape. And I still want my family to be around so they can enjoy the journey and enjoy all this stuff with me. And he said something that was, pretty interesting. He was like, dude, if you make a decision to be a leader amongst leaders, then you can have all that stuff. And then that took me back to my military days of, oh, like when I was, a first sergeant, I was a leader amongst my leaders, my squad leaders, my platoon sergeant, I was that guy. Guess what? I had to set the example in all those different realms. I had to be in shape, right? I had to have a good, a marital life. I can't have my wife calling work as the first sergeant acting up and acting crazy, right? I can't go out to the bar and get drunk and get a DUI. I had to be the leader that was leading these other dudes. And then I was like, well, in the business, what does that look like? So I was like, a leader amongst leader within business. If I'm leading a group of guys that are also in business, guess what? I have to be disciplined and work out. I have to look the part, right? I have to be rich. I have to have a good home life. I have to have good leadership skills. And that simplified it a little bit, right? It's like, man, I can't ignore all these different areas, right? I have to give them the attention that they all deserve. And there's enough time to do it, right? There's plenty of time to do it. I'm up every morning at 4:30, not just because that's just how my body is now after being in the military. I'm
Man,
up
I
at
lay there too
4:30.
long. I hurt.
Dude, I'm up at 4:30. I head to the gym. My wife yells at me because I open the garage and wakes her up, right? I head to the gym. I get my workout in. I'm back at home by 6, just in time to, wake my son up, get him dressed, and then drive him to school. Then I'm back here and I'm doing, like all my social media stuff. And I go to the, jiu-jitsu. Like there's enough time as long as you prioritize it, right? Like whatever you give your attention to is going to grow. So I think for me, that's what it comes down to is like what's important to you is what's going to come to life. You can be rich, you can have a good family, you can do all of that, right? You just have to, one, make sure the family has buy-in, make sure they understand what you're doing. And you can hell, look at President Trump, man. Look at him. Look at how close he is with his kids,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
he's freaking rich. He's the president. Now, granted, he's got like 2 or 3 wives, but maybe that's what he's into, right? But you could definitely do it all. What are your thoughts, Bobby?
So there's always been things in my life that it's like I'll hit a certain point and somebody will say something and it'll like resonate with me for the rest of my life. Like it'll change my whole ideology. And I remember when I was working on the pipeline, and I know I've never understood why people were content. And when I walk in the door somewhere, I'm trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to get to the next level already and how I can get to the top. And, and I've had places that didn't like that. They're like, well, what do you think? And I was like, well, I didn't walk in the door and say, this is it. I'm trying to figure out how to own this son of a bitch. So I always find my way to the source. And I'm always going to try to grow. And a guy told me one time, and he was talking about the griping and whatnot. And if you've ever been around construction crews, pipeline crews, it's just it's almost like a culture of bitching all the time. So we did this whole job and a piece didn't get put in there. So it had to be dug back up. And you got an entire crew sitting there. And the guy that owned it come out there, the oil consult, he never got mad. And he's like, hey. He's like, guys, we know the problem. Why are we talking about it? Just talk about solutions. So I started doing that. I'm like, why sit around and bitch in a circle about the problem instead of all of us figuring out how the fuck we can fix it and then put our energy that way? And then as far as like wealth and stuff goes, everything is different for everybody because, it's same with working out and everything else. I have to be goal oriented or I won't do anything. Like, if you tell me, Bobby, we're gonna have to be over this mountain in a month. I'm like, shit, I got to go. I'm finna start running mountains today. I mean, and that's just how I've always been. So where I go on with that is time got really important to me because my dad always judged a person by his work ethic. And the only way to spend time with him was to work beside him. But I also watched him not do any of the things he always wanted to do in life because he didn't want to stop working. Well, he didn't want to miss that dollar. He didn't want to miss that. And there's got to be a medium there because as much as everybody say, oh, money's not everything, but it is freedoms. It is more, once you're financially stable, it'll actually help your relationships at home. You won't have that fight, that worry. You don't have to worry about how I'm going to stretch this 10 to the end of the week. And people don't think that people do that, but they do. I've seen it. I mean, I've seen times where I've had to get plasma to get gas money. And I mean, we can all laugh and joke about it now, but it's like, that was the real shit. And that's not a good feeling. You know, I've seen my mother sleep with a sandwich in her mouth from working 2 jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, I never watched her complain about it. Never one time. So to me, with friends of mine that are passing away, you know, my medic died. I'm going to go up there on the 5th and bury him in Virginia. It's like the world's moving so fast, and I base everything in time. So when I see a $100,000 truck, I'm like, how many hours does my life do I have to give to drive that truck?
Right. That's a great way to look at it. That's a great.
I do. I measure everything in time
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Time is my money, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, we have to, I like to have air conditioning, and I like to, you know, nobody checks their bank account more than a fucking broke person. So I'm just going to tell you, it's nice to be able to go and buy things and not have to worry about it. You know what I mean? That's not that we can be frivolous, but we can still have some security, and that you don't have the anxiety of worrying how I'm going to get to this day every week. You know, so take that into consideration. I tell everybody, and I was like, when you're at the bottom, you think you're never going to be up again, and when you get up, you know, you never think it's going to go back down. So,
It's
you
very
know,
true. Very true.
roll with your punches.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely. That's a good way to lay it out, Bobby. I appreciate that feedback. Before we transition into the next one, anything else to add about work-life balance before we
Yeah.
go into this last one?
I know,
You
don't
know-
fuck with Jay on the weekend, because that's his kids. He don't talk to nobody on the weekend. I don't fuck with him at all.
That's good. I just think, you know, I was gonna say, it's like, Bobby, you know, you really paint such a gritty picture. Like you're going like really like detailed, gritty. You know, it's a great portrait. And I think if you're in that place, you know, where you're in a battle right now, you're in a financial battle, and things seem hard. You're every day feeling that not just hunger pangs, but fear and anxiety in your stomach. In the mornings, like you wake up, you don't know how you're gonna do it. You know, you go through your day at nighttime, you know, it's filled with stress, right? And again, this is what we're doing. This is the point right now, you know, and to the point of our
I mean,
friend-
well, I've been close to putting the mask on before now. I'm telling you.
right. to the point of our, you know, our little friend there in the chat that's, you know, saying whatever he's saying. The point is this, is that not everybody has the knowledge. And I noticed too, I read this thing that, you know, allegedly he, you know, supposedly he retired when he's 38. That's awesome, man. Why don't you tell us how in the chat? Instead of being negative, lay it out. Maybe you got something to add. You know what I mean?
It's like, for you.
So that's what I'm saying, is that not everybody has the knowledge. How do you get out of that cycle where you're just living paycheck to paycheck? You know, and I'm not, and here I am, I'm saying do hard things. Yes, but also it's knowledge. Like how many of us have been in land nav where you're doing this and you're so strong you can get to the box on time, okay? But what about just doing this? That takes some real know-how, you know, going straight. Maybe you go around a couple obstacles and you're here, but instead of doing this, because you don't know how to do anything. So if you can get in that straight line, the shortest distance between 2 points is in a straight line. And I think this is knowledge. This is why knowledge is so important. Having a plan. Like I heard this guy the other day, what's his name? Ken McElroy. Jay, I know you know him. Ken McElroy, one of the biggest real estate investors in our country right now, of our time. He is managing $2 billion in real estate. Okay, he's got like 10,000 apartment units. Okay, or something like that, or maybe more. The point is, they asked him the other day. It was on one of these videos, and he said, you know, they said, "What if you lost everything right now? You're 62. How fast would it take for you to become a millionaire again?" He goes, "I do it in 6 months because I know exactly what to do. I know the property to look for. I know the team I have to hire. I know how to get leverage, even with no credit, nothing." Grant Cardone proved this on TV. So guys, if you don't think knowledge is power, and you don't think someone testing your thoughts, okay, and I want to say, last night, and if you're out there, okay, I don't talk about my clients, but I'm working with a fintech, financial technology startup owner, founder. We're going through pitches for venture capital for raising funds. The bouncing ideas, even if you're the expert, bouncing ideas off of someone else so you can hear them out loud, get their feedback, makes all the difference in the world. So this is why it's important, though, too, for work-life balance, to spend time also in reflection, not just grinding. Take a look. Do that resection in your land nav. Where am I right now? Where am I on the map? Can someone help me? Can I talk to someone? Okay? And if you don't have that, and you're not in that place to talk to someone right now, at least know where you're at. Have you taken the time to do an account review? Review every single credit card, every single bank account, every debt you owe, put it in a spreadsheet once a week. So all these little things will help you to be like Grant Cardone, who remade all his money when they took everything away, no wallet, no ID, no nothing. Same thing Ken McElroy. Same thing so many other entrepreneurs that fail, or people in life that fail, but they have the know-how now in whatever way it is, and they're able to get it all back.
Man,
This
credit
is
is
knowledge.
credit
you
is
get
a
their,
killer,
you get their
man.
experience, but you
the
get their experience, you
penalties-
get their knowledge. And
The
that's
penalties
why.
on credit
Yeah.
are harsh.
But right there, that little nugget you said, Bobby, right there is wisdom someone else might not know. And so this is in work-life balance. You have to have the balance and the time to do a review, know where you're at, self-reflection, study, growth, all those things like that. So I think, and if you're not, you're just go, 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 go. You're not checking azimuth. You're not checking the direction you're going. You're not checking how you're doing. You're not like a car. You drive that in the ground. You don't take it in for oil change. You don't change the tires. Don't change the brakes. You're gonna find out eventually. You're gonna find out what's going on.
So I guess when in the chat, Dirt Devil, he says, I'm 33, still paycheck to paycheck, but got debt on a snowball and started investing in retirement, only goes up from here. And it's something you and Jake said to me, I've always been scared of debt. It's because I was taught, save your money, pay off your shit, da-da-da-da. But you cannot grow. You can't do that anymore. That's not attainable. $10,000 isn't a down payment on a car anymore. So you got to be able to take chances and not worry so much about, basically, like you said, rich dad, poor dad, and that's the way it's got to be. That always gave me anxiety in the past because it's like every month, man, how do I do this? How am I going to come up with this amount of money or whatever? And it is taking chances. And sometimes you will fail, but you won't die. That's all I always tell everybody. What are they going to do? Fucking kill me?
And Bobby, he's saying that he has credit card debt and it's snowballing, and I don't see that comment in here.
Yeah, his name is, it says Dirt Diver Actual, and he says, I'm 33, still paycheck to paycheck, but got debt on a snowball and started investing in retirement. Only goes up from there.
Okay.
What I've learned just with myself, instead of sticking it in a coffee can, I'm like, well, that $100 is losing money value as we keep going. So if I don't do something with it, sitting in that can, it basically loses money.
Well, I think that's a great point Bobby's making. And I think so. If you've got $10,000 in credit card debt, you got to take a look at. So your number one worst kind of debt is the credit card debt because it's high interest. Okay, it's going to hurt you in your credit. It's going to hurt you in your ability to get out of it because it's like this flywheel. It just keeps on growing and going and going, and you're trying to pay it, but then you got to still use it to pay things. Let's go the Dave Ramsey method. Okay, I keep saying that because he's the most famous guy I know for this stuff. And Dave Ramsey.
I'm a David Pena guy myself. He talks my language.
Number one thing to do is you got to crush the credit card debt. I don't care if you have to get. It's gonna sound tough, but it'll only be for a little while. Get a second job, find a way to make money, start a little business. I mean, honestly, maybe it's like a lawn care business. Maybe you live in a snow place, snow shoveling, snow care, but some way you can make some quick money. Depending on what capabilities and skills you have, you know what I mean? I know some people are video editors. They have their YouTube channel, they go off and edit videos for other people and they're making some money. But you want to pay that thing down as soon as possible and as best you can. And if it's, and 10,000 seems like a lot, but you're only a couple payments away from getting that to be more manageable. So attack that credit card debt, get rid of it, and then start buying everything with the debit card, paying with cash. Through a debit card, because you don't want to let that credit get away from you. Jay, I mean, you're in this game too, like me. What do you think?
Oh, man, Jay over there killing it. He's a silent professional over there. He don't, I don't
So
heard he
for
owns
me-
about 4 square blocks.
So for me, it took me a while because I went the Dave Ramsey method, all right? Because I was starting off, paid everything off, and then built from there because I was new in real estate. And when you're new in real estate, your credit has to be spotless, right? Because that's all you have. But once I became more and more advanced and I understood how debt worked, then I started leveraging debt to essentially grow my net worth. What you can't do is use debt to go out and buy liabilities, right?
Financial
Like
lifestyle.
you have assets, liabilities. Liabilities, anything that takes money out of your pocket. Assets, anything that puts money into your pockets. Once you understand those two, then you can start playing with other people's money, which essentially that's debt, right? You can leverage other people's money to get rich. And for you guys that don't know or that are not as well versed in that space, there's a small book out there. It's tiny. You can read it in one sitting. The Richest Men in Babylon, right? Probably my favorite book when it comes to how to get rich. The Richest Men in Babylon. Get that book and read it. And what it does is it breaks everything down to a dollar, right? Like this is how you handle a dollar. 70% of that dollar can go towards your debt and getting you out of debt, right? 10% can go towards your saving, 10% can go towards leisure, and then 10% you pay yourself, right? So you break that dollar down, it doesn't seem as big, then you go to $100, right? 70% goes towards your debt, and $30 you use that to increase your net worth, to go out and have some, because what you don't want to do is not live, right? You don't want to spend your entire life just miserable. But if you are intentional about how you spend your money, you can work on getting out of debt, right? You could put some money aside so you can have dinner and go enjoy the kids, right? And then you can have a saving for, when time goes, when time gets hard, you know what I mean? But you have to know how to manage your money,
I'll tell
or
you the
else you're just
biggest
going to be
killer that I've
living
ever seen.
paycheck to paycheck,
The
right?
biggest
So the
killer I've
richest
ever
man in
seen.
Babylon. Yeah.
If everybody can do it, I challenge everybody to do it one time, 1 month. When you stop at the gas station, do not go inside.
Yep. Yeah.
What's
But again, like, I hate to say it, but it's something that, folks, watching and listening have to understand. Like the situation that you're in right now, it's by design. Like that's the situation you want to put yourself in. Because at the end of the day, like you're in America. You like whatever you think of, you can achieve. If you decide to get out of debt and start building wealth, you can do it. Countless stories out there about immigrants that come to this country, and have made something of themselves. Hey, Elon Musk wasn't born here, guys. If you guys didn't know, he wasn't born here. He's from South Africa,
And
right? He
I got to
came
tell you,
over.
with Elon
Yeah,
too, what's funny is that all he wanted to do is get a job at Netscape. They wouldn't look at his
yeah,
resume. I did a
yep. Starting
feature on
off.
him on my
Yep.
channel, and he said all I want to do is get a job at Netscape and help build the internet. They wouldn't even look at my resume, so I decided to go out on my own and start contracting and then adding people. Next thing you know, he has a business. He said I never wanted a business. That's hilarious, right?
if you
Yeah,
But I mean, Jay, to your point, and Jay's bringing so many valuable things there because he has a lot to say because he's done a lot, right? And and we talked about a question about what are the first things we do in business. And Jay, I'm going to flip it back over to you. I'm going to ask you the
sure.
question. But what are the first things you would do in business? It sounds like number one, and because I'm in agreement with you, because this is what I would do, is make sure get your credit score as high as you can, get it cleaned up, get rid of the credit card debt as much as you can, and don't. And if dirt devil out there, if you're like worried right now and you're really concerned, paycheck to paycheck, you can't get this 10,000 credit card debt paid down, you will find a way. And I want to say one last thing. Jay's giving you some tough talk there, right? Like this is the situation you want to be in. What I want to say this is your past does not have to be your future. People say you're a product of your past. Yes, for today, for this moment, hit acceptance, accept where you're at, and say, okay, I understand where I'm at. Give yourself inner peace. Now intend the future. Design your future. Decide, what do I want? How am I going to get there? And have faith, courage, and discipline every day to grow, to learn. And again, this is what comes in with strategy and knowledge and experience. You're learning from experienced people right now that you're accelerating your growth. You're accelerating your chances of achieving things. Because again, like I said, you can get to here like this, or you can get to here like this. It's a lot faster. You can shave years off your life if you have the right knowledge, the right strategies, the right blueprint that you've learned from someone else. That's the whole point of having mentors, coaches, taking seminars, reading books, taking a course, or watching a heck of a lot of YouTube videos that teach you things. But take notes. Don't just let it go over your head. Take notes. So anyway, Jay, what would you do for the first three things in business?
Yeah. So first three things I would do again is make sure that my credit is clean, right? Make sure that I don't have any debt that when I go to the bank, they're going to look at me and say, like, why would we lend you money? Right. So I want to make sure, like, because your credit does a couple of things. It proves to people that one, you can hire, I mean, they can trust your word, right? If I say I'm going to take out a 10,000 loan and pay it back, I'm actually going to pay it back because I have a report card that shows that I've done just that, right? Once my credit is where it needs to be, Then I can go on and, make sure the business plan is squared away, right? Once that's done, then I can start filing all the right paperwork to make sure that I get that business and that idea, like you start bringing it to life. And it's such a surreal feeling to take an idea that you had in your head and then you slowly start architecting it and bringing it to life. You start creating. And then you start thinking to yourself like, oh man, this is how everything came to be about. This is how the United States became the United States. It was just an idea. And then the forefathers slowly started incorporating and creating. And next thing you know, we have this, right? All the big businesses. I tell you what, the funniest thing that or the funniest realization that I ever had in my life, and I think it changed everything for me, right? Because I didn't realize all these big companies that we know of, like I don't know why, maybe it's just ignorance in me, but I didn't realize those were people's last names, right? Like Michael Dell. I didn't realize, oh, Michael Dell is an actual guy that created this, right? I'm like, huh. I had no idea some of these big brands, some of these businesses that we go by every day, Nike, Phil Knight. I didn't realize, oh, these are people's last names. These are dudes that invented something, and now it's so big, people don't think about it, but that's what that is. And then it's like, yeah, now it's like, oh, why can't I do the same thing? Truth is, you can. You just have to apply yourself to it.
This is something me and him have been talking about here recently is, there was money out there for things, but we just never knew about it. Like, there's grant money, and that shit's obtainable. I wish I'd have known how to do it 20 years ago. But, if you didn't have an inside or somebody that knew how to tell you, they hoarded that shit to themselves, That's why they talk about the rich don't pay. I said that, but they do it legally. They go through the holes that were there and put there for a reason. If you don't know them, that's your own damn fault at this point. I do the same thing. You can say I don't pay this, I don't do that. I said I follow the law. I just use the same rules that they put in place.
Absolutely.
I want to say something about this because I used to listen to hear people, especially during COVID and stuff, and they were always talking about they couldn't find jobs. And they're like, well, I put in 50 applications today. I'm like, what'd you do? You sit up there and put them on Indeed or something? If you want a job, show up. Make them tell you no in person. And then, you know what? Make them tell you no again tomorrow in person. But show up, look the part. If you're going to go out on a job, show up dressed for success. Look strong, look healthy, like presentable. I've never had a problem getting high-paying jobs. I always showed up respectful, and I'm always going to make them talk to me in person. Like, you'll get tired of me, but I've never had a problem with it. I'll show up at your doorstep. Hey, you need that yard mowed today? And they'll be like, no, sir. I'm like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.
But again, it always goes down to commitment and how bad you want that thing. I think it's Eric Thomas that says you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe, right? Like that's how bad you got to want it.
People are scary nowadays. Yeah. They like to say yes and no on these things. But when we're talking, and it's not that I'm trying to intimidate you, but a lot of things can get worked out face to face.
So I think real quick, like the top three things, again, going into what you would do to start your business. So I think, some people will say to have a business plan. And, personally, depending on the business, I think it's a good idea to just have an idea of where you want it to go. You don't need to have it really, really that detailed unless you're looking for funding. If you're looking for bank funding, venture capital funding, you're going to need these, you're going to need some kind of business plan. You're going to need a slideshow, a pitch, all those things. But if you're looking to start, a solopreneur, like a business out on your own and then build from there, the biggest thing is, first of all, find a problem. What's the problem? What's the service? Okay. What is the service? Check the quality of the service and the product you have. And then you got to start engaging. You got to start marketing. And marketing includes today building a social brand, building a brand. We say, social media, it's really interest media today. People are going to see what interests them. So, start your accounts up, get your LinkedIn, get your YouTube, get your Instagram. Big ones. Facebook's obviously still big. TikTok's big. But you're going to have a plan to start engaging. I can't tell you how many people that I've worked with that are in my coaching membership or my community or one-on-one clients who they're successful. They have successful businesses too. But when you start talking about getting in front of people like we're doing right now, people are just like, I don't know. They don't want to do videos, things like that. And so you got to find a way, though, to get in front of people's faces. Because here's the thing. Peter Drucker, Harvard Business School professor, said all business comes down to one of two things, okay? It's either innovation, meaning you're improving the ways you're going to serve your clients and customers, or it's marketing, okay? And marketing is telling people that you're in business. You're telling people that you're in business. If they don't know you're in business, okay, they're not going to work with you. Point,
No,
period,
you
paragraph.
got to be
know?
valuable.
You got to
Like-
be, but you got to be marketing. And look, I'll give you an example too. And I'll give you an example. There's this thing that popped up for Mount Vernon and George Washington's house, right? It's George Washington's home. And it was saying all these great things you can go and do. And I thought, man, I'd go and do that. And I really dawned on me. I thought it was an Instagram ad. And I thought, but I would never know to even do it because I'm so busy. Unless you get in my face and tell me and do it repeatedly, I'm not going to remember about this, about this event, about this thing. So you got to remember, you can't be afraid, like I talked about earlier, to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And number two, and I'm talking personal problems, business problems, just knowledge and growth. Maybe you have no problems. Maybe you just want to grow. Okay, you want to learn something new you don't know. The next thing is you can't be afraid to market. And people say like, yeah, well, I don't like to sell. If you don't like to sell, you better learn how to sell. Because anytime you're trying to accomplish something that you haven't done yet, or you're trying to get something you don't have yet, you're going to have to sell an idea, sell a plan. You're going to have to, and don't call it selling, but persuasion. And you're offering people a chance to say yes or no to make a decision. It's totally fine. You can say no, but at least make a decision. Say yes or say no. Your job, though, in business is you got to market. You got to, first of all, look at the product market fit. What's your service? What's your product? And then make a decision on how you're marketing. How are you going to tell people you're in business? In person, old school marketing, social media marketing, all these things. But I'm telling you, the scalable method, the easiest way to reach a ton of people is right here, right now, what we're doing. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I would pick one and go hard on it. But if you really want to do it right, you got to at least have LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. You at least got to have those. So.
Everything's
absolutely. Yeah. I got to run, fellas. Because I got to jump on another Zoom real quick. But I appreciate you guys jumping on and hanging out with us. Folks, again, every Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern, we'll be on here. Again, hopefully you guys love this type of content. We just want to provide meaningful stuff that's going to actually help you guys as opposed to just covering the news.
Hey, what's up on the coffee, man? Are we still getting the beans or what? I mean, they blowing
I got mine. I got my Dark Arts box. Hold on, I'll grab it. Jay, I'll grab it real quick. I'll show everybody. No, that's all right. I'll get it next time. Next time I'll bring it. I'll start with it. But hey, everybody, give me a follow over there on YouTube. I'd appreciate it. If you like all this type of content, this type of stuff, this is what I do. I got interviews live every Monday at 1 p.m., live every Friday at 6 p.m., and Sundays at 4 p.m. Whole lot of live. So.
I got my suit and tie ready, man. I've been waiting. I'm putting on a hairpiece.
Hairpiece.
Hell yeah.
All right, folks. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us, folks. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. All right, appreciate you guys. You guys have a good one.
Take care, man.